In this lesson, we're going to look at more form elements of HTML form. And today we're going to consider field sets and then legend, button. All right. So we're going to start with field sets and legend. Right now, you have basic elements in our form, which we have here ranging from text input, password, checkbox, radio, and drop down. Then we have the submit button here. So right below, I am going to create what we call a field sets. Now, first of all, field sets element is used to group related data in a form. I want to give an example. If you go to the bank and you want to create a bank account, then you're going to see that the design of the form that you are filling out is what we refer to as a field set and legend. So I'm just going to type the field set here, field sets, and then I'm going to break it inside. I'm going to use the legend. All right. So the legend here needs to have a name, and let me just call this personal info. Okay, so you can see what is happening right here. Let me grab this so that we can have a space underneath for clear view. All right, so you can see that this field set has created a box, a kind of box for us, and then the legend enables us to label this box. All right, so from there now we can go on to pass the information that we want, and then I'm just going to copy from what we have created before. So right here I have this first field, so I'm going to copy this. No need of retyping it again. Let's try and save time. So under the legend, I'm going to pass this field here, and I'm just going to change it to full name. Yes, I'm going to change this to full name. Then this is name. Let me change this to username. Oh, all right. And then this has to be, let me just use uname, and then very good. So in this data set, in this field set, we have our full name, and I can also decide to make a duplicate of this. I'll copy this, come down, and then I'll change this to maybe nationality. Nationality. I use it as the ID. I just call this nation. You can go ahead and use whatever you want, okay, but I'm just trying to show us how this works. So nationality, and then I just put your nationality. Okay, so once we're done creating a field set, we can decide to have multiple field sets. So I'm going to copy this and then make a copy of this. I'll paste it here, and I'll change the legend to, okay, let me just change this to bank info. Right, in this bank info, I'm going to use maybe bank name, and then here I'm going to change this to bank name, and All right, let me just use bank here, and I'm going to use the same bank name for the ID. All right, here I have bank name, and I have account number. So we have account number, and then I'm going to pass this here. I'm going to pass this here also, account number, and then this I'm going to change it to number instead. Okay, then I'll just come over here, your account number. All right, so we have two field sets here, and then you can go on to type numbers that you want, and then no problem. Then we have the bank name and so on and so forth. This is how to make use of field sets and legend in HTML form. All right, so I hope you understand the concept, so you can go ahead, use it, and create beautiful forms, and then take your time to arrange something that looks nice. All right, so the next thing we are now going to look at is button, the button element in form. So let me come down here. Okay, I have this. Let me come down here, and then I'll just use H2, and I'll call this button. All right, and then I'm just going to use the keyword button. Okay, so our button, it just stands for button. It helps us to define a clickable button, a clickable button. So it's similar to this submit button, but I'm going to show us something somehow different. So let me just use a different keyword, click me. All right, so if you say click me, you see it looks like this submit button. It looks like the submit button, but this one, when I click, yes, it is still going to trigger the same, because it's within this form. It's within the form, so it's going to attempt to submit the data in the form. But there is something very quickly I'm going to do here, which you may not actually understand, but it is a kind of JavaScript. It's just a JavaScript attribute, that on-click attribute that I want to add. But when you define a button element in HTML form, you need to specify the type, and that type has to be also button. Then I'm going to quickly pass in something here on click. All right, so I'm going to say on click. So when I click this button, I want something to happen, so I'm going to use the alerts keyword in JavaScript. I want to pass a message, so alerts, I'll open brackets, and I'm going to use single quotes, and I'll just say hello world. All right, so what happens right now is, if I click this button where it says click me, if I click this button, it's going to pop up this message, hello world. All right, so if I click here, it's going to say hello world. If I click here, it's going to try to submit the data field in the form. So you can see that you can use this button element to create another functionality, add another functionality to the form or to your web page, instead of just using it for submit button. All right, but remember that the structure, the syntax of this button is quite different from this input submit button. Here the type is button, here the type is submit, here it has a value submit, but then here there is no value attribute used. So this is the second thing that we have considered in this video. Before I wrap it up, I'm going to quickly talk about text area. All right, why? Because sometimes when you are filling a form you see a large box where maybe you'll be asked to, write multiple lines of text. Okay, and that field is what we call that field the text area. So let me grab this to break the line. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, so what we have here right now is what we're going to call the text box. Text area. I'll type in text area, and then you will see three attributes. How many? Okay, four attributes here. The first is the name attribute, and text area actually is meant for message. So I'm going to call this message. The ID, I may decide not to use ID, or I can decide to use it, but I'll give it MSG. Then this column, the column right here defines or specifies the width of the text area. So let me show you here. So here we have text area. You can expand it the way you want. All right, so this is what we call the text area. You can type things inside and then you submit when you click the submit button here. So this defines the width and this defines the height of the text area here. So you can manipulate these figures. It must not be 30 and it must not be 10. So I can start to change this to 20, and you see that it has increased the height. I can decide to change this to 50 and it will expand the width. So this is what we call the text area. Once you finish defining it here, you can just go ahead and type your messages here. If I type anything in between the text area element, then it's going to automatically show here. So if I come over here and I type anything at all, right, you see that it's going to be printed in here. So that is why it's not advisable that you type anything here. But then you can use your, let's try this, you can use your placeholder, and then you say type your message here. All right, so you say type your message here. Or it's not showing. It is showing actually, but we are not seeing it. Okay, so it means that you cannot use your placeholder here. My bad, sorry for that. Okay, but if you type a message here, it's going to show, and when it shows, you can delete it, but that doesn't mean that it has disappeared. Type your own. All right, but anytime that the page is being refreshed, then the text, the former text, the old text is going to show. All right, so this is where I'm going to call it off for this section. And then remember, we have added 3 more elements to the form. The first is field sets, and legend enables us to create this wonderful sectioning in our form. Personal information, bank information, you can just group your data like this in the form. And we also considered how to create a button, how to use the button element, where I passed in a JavaScript on click alert. Then when I click this, it's going to print a message for me, hello world. And thirdly, we looked at how to create text area, where you can type in whatever you want to type here. So I want you to now figure out how to put in, figure out on your own how to place how to use a placeholder here, right? You see all this text that we have, your account number. Figure out on your own how to use placeholder right here, so that we can guide people to know that they are supposed to type in their message here. All right, so if you are able to do that, kudos to you. You can make use of the internet, use your Google, and then research that on your own. I think this is going to be it for HTML form. In our next class, we're going to look at other elements in HTML. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and just share. Subscribe, follow, like us, do everything that you know you can do to help our video get to more audience. Thanks and bye.